Hello and welcome to Under the Halo's January edition of our podcast. And Happy New Year to all of our listeners. We hope you had a nice Christmas. We start our podcast today with our review of Southampton's away game to Spurs. Matt, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it was obviously a terrible result. We absolutely got blown away in the first half and the start of the second. I don't think anybody can argue that Spurs deserve that result and deserve that win. Very convincing. Of course, everybody was talking about Harry Kane and him breaking the record for the amount of goals scored in a calendar year. And so what does he do? He scores his consecutive hat-trick because he got one the game before as well. So that was always going to happen, wasn't it? Yeah, even as a fan that tries to look at positives, I'm struggling. The only positive I can think of is that we won the last 20 minutes 2-1. That's about it. But it was a bit of an odd game by that point in the last 20 minutes because both teams were just attacking. There was no sort of game management from Spurs. I think they just carried on trying to score as many goals as they wanted, and it did allow us to actually have a few chances. Obviously, we scored 2 for the first time in an away game this season. Just a shame that we conceded 5. But it could have easily been any score that anybody wanted it to be, really. You know, I think it wouldn't have been a disservice to say that Spurs could have got into double figures that game if they put away every chance they had. And just needed to move on to the next game, really, and we'll go on to that later on. But yeah, that's what I think.
Kevin?
I thought we were absolutely diabolical. We were absolutely shocking. And after the game, after seeing that performance, I don't know how Pellegrino was given the opportunity to manage us in the Man United game. But for me, we gave him too much space. Our team selection was just... There was no one up front until Gabardini and Tadic came on. When we were like almost 5, I think we were 5-1 down. It was kind of comical. Every single chance that Spurs had looked like they were going to score. And for me, I think it was down to our manager. Our manager is just... I still don't know how he's at our football club at the present moment in time. But he's not going to get it. But yeah, we were just shocking. We're diabolical that match.
Thanks, Kev. Mark?
All I would say about that game, because I don't want to dwell on it too much, was I wasn't there, by the way, folks. I managed to watch it on a stream. And I would say, irrespective of whether you're looking at the manager as a scapegoat or not there, you know, you've got to say that, for me, our big players, right, at our football club didn't turn up at that game. Romeu was shocking, right? And the only person I actually thought came out of the game me any credit was Matt Target. You know, and that was where I was at. But apart from that, I don't really want to speak about the game. So over to you, Jeff.
I was just going to say, sorry, very quickly. In hindsight, it was interesting. I know we're going to talk about Virgil later on, but obviously the whole situation with that came to its head and came to light just a couple of days later. And in retrospect, I think it was clear to see that, I mean, it's obviously been a big impact across the season already, but it completely had turned the players' heads for the Spurs game. And it just so happened that it obviously all came out in the press a couple of days later that the deal had been finalised. And as soon as he was left out at Huddersfield and then at Spurs, it cycled the entire rumour mill again, and you can see that had the
Even
effect
though
on the
we
players.
thought at the time, I mean, the majority of fans thought he was being kept out because of his level of performance,
Yeah,
other than the fact that he was being moved on. But we'll touch about that.
Yeah, later on.
I was in the game, and Jeff was sat right in front of me, and I must say I've never seen Jeff more depleted. He was absolutely. It was lost for words. He just didn't have anything to say. It was just.
Well, we'll see if he's got anything to say in a minute.
He just was lost.
Okay.
Jeff.
Well, I just want to start off by saying that I agree with what you've all said so far. I feel it was an awful performance, and I feel we were ripped apart that day. Harry Kane tore defence apart. It was a day to forget. However, having looked into it a bit more deeply, there were some very surprising statistics which I'd like to put out there to you all now. Believe it or not, Spurs had 16 shots that day, and we had 16 shots. Right? They had 8 shots on target. We had 7 shots on target. They had 50. They only had, I say only, but it's still 53%. They had 53% possession. We had 43% possession, and we had 8 corners to their 3. And that was on the BBC Sport website. Statistics.
They had 53% possession and we had 43. Surely you mean 47?
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
My mistake.
That's okay. That's all right. No, that's interesting in itself. But then stats. I don't know. I'm always a bit dubious with
There's only one
stats.
stat
to be
that
fair.
counts at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
But but I do take stats into consideration. I'm just dubious about
No, I
them.
know,
That's
but
all.
that's what I was trying to say, is that actually it just became an end-to-end game, and everyone was having shots and everyone was having chances at the end.
So, okay, I wasn't at the game and I watched it on a stream. So, are we saying that it was a bit like a match in a park where you have the ball and you attack, and we all have the ball and we attack?
I
Is that what we're
I
saying?
think at the end of the game it certainly got like that.
Yeah,
but
it did
obviously
the last 20 minutes.
miles before that was when the damage was done and we
Yeah.
were already out of the game. So I think they just
I think we just weren't.
decided to have a go.
I think tactically, Harry Kane's going for this goal scoring record.
Yep.
And managers would tell your defenders, keep an eye on them. Just don't let him score for whatever reason.
Yep.
But no, they let him free on numerous occasions, and I think it was just. I think Yoshida had a appalling game that match.
I've got to say, the Harry Kane thing was written in the stars even before a ball was kicked. I've got to say that. Go on.
I just wanted to say that in relation to the statistics I've just put you out there, right, is that I'm not defending the performance in the slightest and saying it was a good performance, but in hindsight, we were awful that day. And yet, most teams in the Premier League would be happy to go away to Spurs and have 8 corners and to have 7 shots on target and have 16 shots, right? But I think it proves that we're underachieving and they need a goal scorer because we matched them for shots, and to go away to Spurs and have 8 corners is a credible statistic.
Well, that proves your point, because obviously if we had the same amount of shots and 1 less on target and they scored 5 and we scored 2.
I've got a feeling that we're getting way too optimistic about a 5-2 loss.
The
It was a 5-2 loss.
The difference is we had Shane Long, who was starting, who hadn't even scored a goal, and you expect him to have shots.
He had a couple of chances to break the dock in that game as well, and he didn't take them. But as we find out later,
But
he did.
I think the manager from the team selection was just. As soon as I heard the team news, I thought we're losing this game.
Right, okay then.
Yeah,
Well,
should we move on?
We'll move on to the Man United away game. Your thoughts, Mark? Matt?
Again, and I said this about previous games. Yeah, okay, we could have done maybe a bit more in terms of the context of our season, but as a game in response to the Spurs game, was very, very good. By far our best performance in this run that we're going to cover. Very impressed. Had a couple of chances to nick a goal. United did as well. Possibly should have had a goal if there wasn't an intervention of Paul Pogba right at the end. But yeah, miles better. And I think after the Spurs game, Pellegrino came out and said, obviously this isn't acceptable. We need more from the players. And I think they took that step in response to that for that game. And yeah, very promising. Certainly more than I expected to get from Old Trafford. I think we're the only team in I can't remember how long, but to stop United from scoring in a home league game. So that takes an achievement. And obviously, yeah, like, as we were saying, we were absolutely diabolical defensively the previous game, and it's a massive step in the right direction for that game in response to it.
Right, thanks, Matt. Kevin?
I thought, bar the Everton match, this was our best performance of the season. I think we showed a lot of fight and a lot of passion, and I was expecting going to United thinking, we're going to get hammered. But then seeing every single player give their all, and I thought Shane Long could have even scored in that match against De Gea. But I think the big turning point was when Lukaku got taken off from that match, because if he didn't get injured, then it might have been a different match entirely. But then also Ashley Young got a suspension after that elbow as well.
Yep.
But apart from that, I thought that was our best match, and we were unlucky not to get 3 points in that match, in my opinion.
Thank you, Kevin. Mark?
Okay, so you go there, you're on a wing and a prayer after a 5-2 defeat, and fortunately the team, and I'll say the team, turned up and gave a performance. It was set up very, very similar to the Manchester City game, I thought. Fortunately, Højbjerg seen a lot of the ball. Him and Hoyt, for me, were standouts. But yeah, I never really felt that we're under any danger. Okay, if Lukaku had stayed on the pitch, then you got much more of a goal threat. He went off with concussion. I have a friend that's a Man United fan, and he cynically turned around and said to me, he got the concussion when he went off the pitch because he didn't want to miss his New Year's Eve party. So that just goes to show that there's more cynical people out there than me. But having said that, yes, it was a good performance. It's a shame that I think it was Romeu had a shot as well. It's a shame that him and Shane Long's chance was, for me, it was going in. It was only because the head didn't actually know where the ball was. And really, that could have looped into the net as easily as looped over the bar, to be fair to Shane Long.
Fantastic save to get it over the bar.
So,
What did everybody think of the Sheeda handball then?
well, it was handball all day long, I'm sorry. If your hand's up there and obviously you can't see that, but I mean, his hand was well away from his body and the hand was raised. So, look, at the end of the day, sometimes the luck goes with you, and the luck went with us. And I think really at the end of the day, we deserved the luck and we deserved the point that we came away with. And it was the perfect reaction on the back of, as I say, a 5-2 defeat at Spurs.
I think we had a lucky mascot during that game, because throughout the coach journey going up to Man United, everybody was winding up Mark saying that we're going to sign Theo Wilcott, and I think he might have been our lucky mascot for that match.
Going back to the handball thing, though, I think I'm going off topic slightly because I'm taking it as outside of just Southampton here. But I look at the time, I wasn't sure whether it was handball or not by the letter of the law, because of whether it's deliberate or not is the key wording for the letter of the law. And as much as people can debate that till the cows come home, I wasn't sure it was deliberate. But then you see the next day with the Arsenal game and that being given as handball, which is nowhere near anywhere close to being deliberate as Yoshida's, and it just sparks a debate, and I can see why so many do get irate about it, and I can see why then United fans were actually a bit more, had their case a bit more for that situation.
Okay, thanks. Right, Man United. I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to be fair, okay? I think it was a dull game of football, but credit where credit is due. It was a good performance from Saints that day. We had a go. We could have had a goal, to our credit, but I think United should have had a penalty when it was a handball.
Yeah.
Also, if Paul Pogba hadn't been greedy and got the last touch on a shot, then that wouldn't have been given offside.
Why did he do it? Was more my question. I mean, the ball was going in the back. He didn't need to do it.
I'm guessing the only thing I can think of is that he didn't think it was going in and just thought he had to divert it.
But a 0-0 draw away to Man United is a great result. So I'm happy on that one, on that game.
Good.
No complaints.
That's one of the first ones. As I say, to me, that was probably our best performance. I know you probably argue it was a dull game, but to me, that was probably our best performance of the season, including the Everton.
When you're coming out of Old Trafford and you've got like a point there, it feels like a win almost.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, well, in relation to our season, it certainly
Yeah,
felt
definitely.
like a win, mate, that's for sure.
The only other thing I wanted to point out is that it was a great response from having got thumped 5-2 at Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a hell of a
true.
response, to be fair.
I can't believe. I know we're going to touch on it later with predictions corner, but Warwick Dave got the
3
score exactly right with that one.
Oh, yeah.
Optimism does sometimes pay off, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we now move on to the Crystal Palace game. Matt?
Wow, what a come down from us saying how good the United game was. I was a little bit surprised with the team selection. I thought it was a game where we needed to really focus on our shape as a formation, given the threats out wide from Palace. Unlike the recent run that Palace have had, they didn't really turn up in the first half, and I think that's what we benefited from. That they didn't really turn up in the first half, and Shane Long managed to finally get his goal after 11 months, and it was a good goal as well. It wasn't a tap in after a scramble or something. It was a well-worked goal and a very good finish. And then second half, Palace did actually turn up. I think they must have got some form of rollicking from the manager, and we just sat back. We let them come on to us too easily. And that's been the big disappointment for me. Again, I try and be optimistic and look at the positives in games, but to see how we really just sat back and let that play happen to us in the second half was really disappointing. And obviously, it told. The actual first goal, at the time, I thought Benteke was offside when he flicked it on, but he wasn't. And it's just appalling defending because you've got about 3 Crystal Palace players in behind the line, I say line very loosely, of our defence in the second phase of defending that free kick. And yeah, I mean, again, credit where credit's due. I thought the second goal was a fantastic finish by Milivojevic, but it should never have got to that position in the first place. And again, it was a classic case of showing how deep we were trying to defend because there was a huge gap at the edge of the box, sort of 25 yards out, and it had absolutely nobody near him, which gave him the opportunity to think, okay, I can take this shot on first time. And I say credit where it's due. It was a fantastic finish, but it should never have been allowed to get to that point anyway. And as we've all been saying, even in the run-up to this game in other podcasts, this was a huge game. It was a massive game for us. So a massive disappointment to lose it, especially having gone in front and looking like we could have pushed on from that first half performance.
Okay, thanks. Kevin?
For me, the first half, I was impressed. I thought first half we played really well. Second half, I think I rang up. I was speaking to Mark at half time and I was saying, really impressed. So happy Shane Long scored his goal. At that point, he was like one of the top goal scorers and he'd beaten Harry Kane.
Push on.
But let's push on. We were playing really, really well. But then Palace scored their goal, and I think it was a bit controversial, their first goal, because I don't think it was a free kick, in my opinion. I think it was a free kick, and then they scored from that free kick.
Yeah.
Because the referee blew it up, and he was really late at blowing up as well. And
He pulled it back from what I can remember. It was
Do we know who it was?
I think it was I may be wrong, but I think it was a Shane Long tackle originally.
I don't think it was a free kick at all.
Palace player, I can't think who it was, went a bit further on and then got tackled fairly. I think it was by PA,
Was that
but he
James
bought it
McArthur?
possibly. But he then got pulled back for the original tackle by Shane.
I think that decision there changed the whole context of the match, because before that I thought we were playing really, really well, good football, and then I kind of think Pellegrino's substitutions had a bad effect on our team performance, because we were playing really good football, and then he changed the lineup, and then we just went downhill from that. Whereas Roy changed his substitution, made a big effect on the game, if you know what I mean.
Okay, Mark.
Very, very quickly, it's simple for me. 1-0, you're cruising half time. Half time comes, Crystal Palace match us up as equals. So they were playing like a 4-1-1 system, right? After half time, we were playing like a 4-1-1 system, right? So they were basically matching us up. And what happened was, halfway through, because he moved, is it Balassi? Balassi moved. Whoever it was, anyway.
Zacco.
What happened was, in the second half, and I promise you this is right? In the second half, he made 2 substitutions, right?
Yeah.
And what he did was, where they had matched us up at the start of the second half, right? He then made Crystal Palace into a 4-2-4 unit, right? There was much more width going down the sides. Our defenders couldn't cope. They looked overwhelmed to me.
That's why I was saying about that. I was surprised by the selection in saying that we needed to focus on the shape of our formation, and having obviously Tadic and Buffel in the same side is good for meant to be good for going forward. But they're very much players that want to be in the centre of the pitch, and especially if on paper the lineup is that they're out wide. Yeah, and they cut inside, then they don't give any assistance to the fullbacks in defence, and that's why I was so surprised, because, as you say, that tactical awareness from Roy Hodgson.
My greatest worry, and I'm still going to talk about the game, but my greatest worry is we come on this podcast, and because we're Saints fans, when it is the proverbial 6-pointer, we're all sat there going, the players know it's a must-win, and we back them to do it, and they haven't done it. They say anytime when the pressure's been on them, we've thought, right, okay, they're gonna turn up, they're gonna give us a performance against a team that I'm not expecting to win, but you know they know that the heat's on them, right? And they don't do it. They haven't been doing it from day one. You know, can you blame Pellegrino for that? I don't know. Don't know, to be honest. But all I'll say to you is this is, and I keep saying it on most podcasts, for me, Pellegrino in his substitutions is reactive rather than
absolutely.
proactive, right? And the other thing is he takes his best players off. You're sitting there going, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, there you go.
Interesting point I did want to make on the subs, actually, is a lot of people and people on this podcast have been calling for 2 up front. And
I don't, because I agree with you. Our best, you know, I think you play one off the striker. It's not, you know.
But my point was going to be that he actually did that as soon. He planned for us to do that at 1-0. Yeah. The substitution happened as soon as Palace scored for 1-1, and it completely upset the balance. It was all Palace as soon as we went 2 up top, because there was nothing for us to stiffen the midfield up. And again, with the issue of, as I'm saying, between Tadic and Buffel not covering their defensive duties out on the wing or to the side, that's where all the mismatch happened, and that's why we had so much pressure on us, and we just didn't deal with it. And so it was a real sort of black mark against the people that say they want to play 2 up front all the time.
I also think I had a bigger impact in the match was the pitch. The pitch was absolutely horrific. In the middle of the park, in the middle of the park, the pitch was so bad, and I noticed that the wind was swirling. It was and literally any time the ball was going that way instead of the other way,
to your left,
to my left, yeah. any kind of ball, it was like flying more. So any like when they had their second shot, it just flew off his foot. But
Like the stadium was like a dust bowl effect on the night, wasn't it? You know, like the sort of dust bowl effect that they have in Texas and places like that.
The weather
there.
had been awful down here, obviously, didn't it, with
Yeah.
rain before the game.
it did have a big impact on their second goal.
But I
think.
just think I don't accept those as excuses
No.
because I think it's the same for both sides.
Yeah,
so
it
you
is.
can't you know.
So like first half we were shooting down that end and we were dominant, and then the second half they were shooting down that end and they were dominant. So I think it was a big impact on the way the pitch was and the way the wind, the swirling wind.
It's just a difficult one for me. With Matt, as I say, on the back of the performance at Manchester United, you're thinking tails should be up. They should be keen to sort of go out there, prove a point for themselves. And this is why I try not to put too much blame on Pellegrino, because I think when you get a good result, the players should be coming into the next game feeling at least there's some kind of confidence there in their own abilities. But, you know, in that particular match, Pellegrino in relation to the subs, it was, again, it was back to the, you know, being reactive rather than proactive.
Very last point before we move on. Interestingly, Adam Blackmore actually put that to him, put that to Pellegrino in his post-match interview.
What, reactive rather than proactive?
So, we'd had that put to him, and he said, "Well, that's how I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but it was just how he sees the game and how he thinks is best for the team at that moment."
We're going down.
But that's
If
what.
he actually believes that, we're going to get relegated.
But that's what he was saying, I believe.
Sorry, Jeff.
Okay, I'll just wrap this up quickly by saying that I thought it was a disappointing performance. We just seemed too laid back for me. Didn't play with enough tempo. We took lead on 17 minutes from Shane Long. I just felt that Palace offered nothing for the first 60 minutes and were there for the taking. We went in at half time, and I don't know what the manager said at half time, but we just came out and collapsed in the second half, and there was only one team that were going to win the game for me.
It certainly
That was
wasn't.
Palace. And I think, you know, in the end, I thought we got what we deserved. Absolutely nothing from that game, and that is what we deserve, in my opinion. And we're now out of the relegation zone on goal difference. So it's all a bit depressing, really. Anyway, moving on to the next game, which is Fulham. Matt, your thoughts?
We won a game. It's great. No, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm happy we won. I think it's a game we should have won, even if we are away. Fulham aren't exactly setting the world alight in the Championship. It should be a game that going into and winning. I mean, I know Pellegrino said before the game he was going to pick a stronger lineup as he could. But for me, I would have preferred to see some of the younger players get a chance and actually try and show a bit more passion and determination for me. That's what I would have thought. But I totally understand that probably from Maurizio's point of view, he's probably too under pressure to have done that. And he wanted the players to go out there and really get a lift by showing that they can put in a performance to get the win. A bit similar to what you were saying from United, really. Not the best game of football ever. I thought it was actually quite a boring game. But win's a win. Shame it's not worth points at this stage, but we can certainly use that as a platform to build on.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't at the game because I generally think our bread and butter is the league at the moment, and I'm refusing to pay into the FA Cup when we're in such dire situation in the league. At the moment, like, we're going to go into this topic in a minute, what Ralph said in his interview. But, like, in my opinion, he wants us to concentrate on the FA Cup because there's a way of getting into Europa League football. However, we're in a relegation dogfight at the moment and we need to concentrate on the league more so. So I'm kind of on a little bit of a protest against the FA Cup at the moment, even though I would be looking forward to going to the game. Listening to what the people have said about the game, Fulham were very unlucky in the match. If they had better forwards, they could have won that game. And we looking at the goal, it was kind of a lucky ricochet off Shane Long's shot, and then Ward-Prowse scored.
It was pinball for a while before it fell to Ward-Prowse, and even when he scored the goal, it wasn't a clean hit, was it? You couldn't say it was a clean.
On his left
But-
foot.
Like in the early,
It looked a bit scuffed to me, but hey ho.
like in the early stage of the like FA Cup, if you lose, you got the trip home, and you're like all doom and gloom. And if you win, all you do is progress into the next round. So you might as well go into the later stages of
What Kevin's saying is he's going to turn up when we get to the last 16, the quarter-finals.
Semi-final.
Because he wants the glory of it, but he doesn't want to be bothered with the mundane third and fourth round ties,
There's a dig for you, Kevin.
So yeah, I won't do it like the third or fourth.
Mind you,
I won't be there at Watford.
I was going to say, with the draw at Watford, it's not exactly an inspiring draw to get people going, is it?
Right.
Never mind.
I think the FA Cup's all about like going to places where you necessarily won't get the chance to go to, like say like a Mansfield
We would
or
have loved
or
to
a-
go on the Mansfield.
or a
something like
Newport County, but that's what the FA Cup's all about. Is
We haven't had a
playing-
draw like that for
we haven't had
Ages.
We haven't had a
Absolute
draw like that for
donkeys.
ages. I mean, I personally enjoy going to Craven Cottage.
Yeah,
'Cause I
I
like
do,
it.
because it's an antiquated ground.
I like the ground, and that,
Yeah.
quite honestly, that was the big selling point for me. Is that
Yeah,
I do like going to
agreed.
Craven Cottage, but
I do.
yeah, in terms of the romance of what the FA Cup can throw up, it still wasn't a fantastic draw. And then obviously the Watford draw isn't either.
I just haven't had like the
Well,
romance
the
of the
Watford
FA
draw
Cup.
isn't because we're playing them,
Yeah,
this Saturday.
This Saturday,
You're
yeah.
thinking, I don't really want
I
to be
think-
playing them again a fortnight later.
I think the FA Cup needs a little bit of revamping personally as well. I think all you get is Europa League football from it, and some of the teams don't necessarily put their full strength squads out.
Well, so
What
you're
did you think of
you're
the actual game,
advocating
Kevin?
Champions League, are you, Kev?
They need to do something. I don't know, a bigger prize money or Champions League or something.
It's funny, smaller clubs don't seem to have that problem, but
No.
obviously
But
the
they're
bigger
getting money.
clubs do.
They're getting money from it.
Yeah.
What do you
Well,
think about the actual game?
we
Kevin?
get money from it. It's just not as much money as we'd probably like.
The actual
anyway.
game, apparently, all I think is Fulham should have won if they had better attackers. That's all I'm going to say on the game.
Right. So for me, very quickly, I would say first half, Fulham I felt edged it for me. And I'll tell you why I thought they edged it for me in the first half was Ryan Fredericks and Ryan Sessegnon were getting down the wings, right? And it wasn't until the second half when that was curtailed for me. I think if they had have had a dominant striker, if Fulham had a dominant striker, I mean, they brought on, I think I'm right in saying, they brought on their leading goal scorer about 5 minutes towards the end. I'm sitting there thinking, why wasn't he on there from the off? But I did really feel that Ryan Sessegnon and Ryan Fredericks were getting joy down the flanks in the first half.
I've been linked with Ryan Sessegnon, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we'll get him because he's being linked with bigger clubs now. But interestingly, Matt Targett's gone off there on loan, isn't he? Or allegedly he's going off there on loan to Fulham. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet on the Fulham game. I think it was good to get a win. I'm happy that we won. It's progress in the cup, and I think it's a positive. And sometimes you can't always win with pretty football. Sometimes you've got to play unattractive football and just settle for the win. And I think we needed a win. So I think there is positive to take from the game. But it was a less than convincing performance. I wouldn't class it as a good game of football. And I just want to forget about it and move on. We haven't really got too much to say about it because there was nothing really there that
Okay.
kind of...
Just a quick
you know.
point from me, if we're going to move off of it. The support on Saturday from us was horrendous.
Support.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
The chanting, some of the chanting was unacceptable.
Yes.
Irrespective of your viewpoint on the manager or anybody else at Southampton Football Club, and I'm going to say this, right? You got to remember one thing: these people are human beings at the end of the day, right?
That's-
Human beings.
That's
Right.
when you don't have like sophisticated fans like myself being there.
Well, that's Kev. Oh yeah, no, without a doubt, my friend, without a doubt. But I just want to say that because if you look at that and you parody Fulham, our fans at Fulham, compared to our fans at Old Trafford, two totally
Yeah,
different
yeah,
sets
definitely.
of fans. Because at Old Trafford, Kevin, how good were we? You were there, Jeff. How good were we at Old Trafford, the fans?
Yeah, very
Saints
good that day.
fans?
Very vocal.
Superb. And I keep saying to myself, I'd much rather us be playing in the north of England, right, with probably not a sellout crowd, right, because they get behind the team
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
than playing in London where everybody can go up there.
Definitely.
Generally, if the club aren't doing well, you know, it brings out the abusive fans.
No,
I'm not
absolutely
denying
agree.
they're Saints fans, but they're just abusive.
Very quickly on
Yeah.
that point, I had a lot of I saw a lot of backlash on Twitter about the team selection, and then when the game started, actually, I thought we were by far the more dominant fans in terms of support, and actually it was positive support. But then
It was in general, yeah.
yeah, obviously, yeah. But as the game wore on, and it looked, as we've been saying, a less than convincing performance despite the win. That's when it started to turn.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I say, some of the
It's
stuff that has been said is just
It
unacceptable.
wasn't, just to clarify, it wasn't the fact that I have no problem with fans expressing their opinion, right?
No, but it's set
But when,
things that was.
when you say certain things about people that are, it is not acceptable
yeah.
in any way, shape, or form. And I say that being a person who's probably, you know, I'm not convinced by the manager at all. I've got to say that.
When it gets actually, directly insultive to people,
Yeah,
then it's
no,
that's
it's
not
not on.
not
It's not
acceptable.
on. It's not
I don't
on. We're all
really know
human beings. We
how-
all have feelings.
I don't understand why Pellegrino was in charge for the Fulham match in the first place. After the performance at Crystal Palace and
We'll
the
get to
Tottenham
that
match.
when we talk about
Anyway,
Kruger's
right, we're now going to move on to our previews, starting with Watford away.
Watford away. I don't honestly know what I think about this game, if I'm being honest. Two very out of form teams going together, but they got a very convincing win against Bristol City in the FA Cup. Now, I know you could argue Bristol City were more than concentrating on the game they're playing tonight at Man City, but I was quite surprised to see them get such a good result against a team that has done so well in cup competitions. So honestly, I'm not sure about this game. I remember from last season, obviously we got a very entertaining game at Watford away. I don't think we'll get that this time around. I think it'll be quite a poor game in terms of the quality of football. But I mean, I obviously want to be optimistic and hope. And it is a game that, considering the form of both sides, I think both sides will be thinking, actually, yeah, we need to win this game.
Here. We
Yeah.
can win here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Matt. Kevin?
Watford, last season we played tremendously well, but I think it's going to be like a different experience altogether. This one, I think we tend to not play that well against Watford, but last season we did play well though. So I think it's going to be a tough match, but it all depends what side comes out. If we come out with a battling performance like we did against United, or if we give a performance like we did at Tottenham, it all depends. I don't know what team's going to be there at Watford.
Obviously, we're recording on the Tuesday, and obviously the team news in terms of selection, and that won't get told till probably Thursday, will it? So we don't quite know in that sense.
Right, Mark.
My feelings about it is I feel like I'm suffering from deja vu here. Right, so Watford are on a bad run of form. We're on a bad run of form. Something's got to give here. And like I keep saying about when we go to away games and stuff like that there, when teams are on a bad run of form, even if you're struggling a bit yourself, you got to take the positive from the fact that they're not playing well. Never mind the fact that you're not playing well. But I'm worried that I can only see one outcome. But really, if the players play to their potential,
Don't want them
right?
to play.
If they play to their potential, they can win the game. There's no doubt about it. I think in the preview for the home game against Watford, I tipped Watford to be the surprise package for the season, and they started like an express train. And now, would you be wanting their manager? Who knows? Because they faltered. They faltered. You know, I thought they were going to be the Burnley of this season. I did, because I thought recruited well enough. You know, and now they've got some good young English players in there. But as I say, I can't see why. I know we're in the doldrums at the minute, but let's try and break the mould here. I mean, they're not playing well. Okay, we're not playing well. For goodness sake, let's not lose the game. At least draw the game. They're not playing well. We're not playing well. But, you know, let's try and go out and win the match. Let's try and go out and win the game, you know.
Okay. More thoughts on Watford. Basically, I don't expect anything from this game. We don't have a good record there. I think we need to sign some players. I just don't feel we've got anything up front. And confidence is shot. I don't even think some of the players even want to be there, to be honest. We now move on to preview the next game, which is West Brom.
Again, it's. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Wait, I swear it's Tottenham.
It is Tottenham's the next game.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay.
We'll do Tottenham then.
We'll do Tottenham. It's Tottenham at home.
Tottenham at home.
Well, we've just obviously spoken about. Spurs. I know that was an away game, but arguably they've been better away than at Wembley this season of Spurs. So obviously we never seem to do fantastically well when
haven't beaten them at home.
No, but
in Premier League.
But as in even when you get an ex-manager or player coming back to St Mary's, there always seems to be something that goes against us. And Pochettino has a good record against us since leaving us, so it probably knows a bit more about the players to give his insight to his Spurs players. I don't know, but no, I mean it's going to be a difficult game. There's no shying away from that. Yeah, especially if Harry Kane comes in and does what he does best, and the other players contribute around him. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult one, but you never know. I'm going to try and stay positive. You never know.
The Tottenham game, as long as we don't give the performance we did at Wembley, and we show a little bit more fight, and we get stuck in, and we close them down, not giving them as much space than we did. And I think we could do a little bit more better than a 5-2 defeat. We might lose by 2 or 3, but not as.
So it'd be 4-2.
Fingers crossed, we come out and the best we can hope for is a draw in that match, in my opinion. But I don't know. I'm seeing a bit doom or gloom here. But yeah, stop Harry Kane and we might have a chance.
Mark?
I'll just say one thing. We haven't been I mean, we've been in the Premier League for what, 5 seasons, 6 seasons now?
This will be the sixth.
We still haven't beaten Tottenham at home. So that tells you everything we need to know on that game. But, you know, I'll always say this. Records are there to be broken. So, the hell with it. Yeah, we may not be playing well, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. Yeah, I've already said it. I know predictions corner's coming up in a minute. But I'm going to go with 1-0 win the Saints.
Bold. To be honest, it's a hard game anyway. I think it's one we're probably going to lose. But I'm sitting here now at the moment, and I'm kind of thinking, well, to be honest, I think it'd be a positive if Harry Kane don't get a hat-trick. Because if our defence is anything to go by coming up against him in the last game, then we got a problem. So we'll move on to the Brighton home game.
Well, next game is actually the Watford FA Cup game.
Yeah.
At home.
Watford FA Cup.
Well, we've kind of already covered it, haven't we? Be exactly the same kind of preview, except the venue would be different.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, you don't know. Results could. There's only 2 games in between that, so results could change.
Yeah.
The build up to the game, and hopefully we can go in with a bit of confidence. But
yeah, I won't be there. That's all I know.
You won't be there for it. Okay.
Now on to the Brighton game.
Okay. Well, I think it will be a dull draw. I don't think it's going to be much in this
What, the Brighton game?
Not at all. No. Your thoughts?
I think the Brighton fans will probably be a bit more up for it than we will be, quite honestly. I mean that. Yeah, no, I know. It's not the nicest thing to say.
What's happening, man? Goodness sake.
I do think they will be, because again, they see it more as a derby than we do.
I'm not thinking in those terms. I'm thinking it's another proverbial 6-pointer. So are we going to turn up and win, and just for the hell of it, get 3 points?
They've been playing reasonably well without setting the world alight in terms of results. Actually, I thought they were quite unfortunate to only draw up against Bournemouth. I know I have Bournemouth fans at me now for that, but and obviously they beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup last night. I think Chris Hughton's doing a fantastic job for them, considering obviously being newly promoted and their expectations in the Premier League this season.
Like him a lot as manager, always
Yeah, I've got
have.
big respect for Chris Hughton. And yeah, so again, it'll be a tough game. Obviously, we're at home. We didn't play particularly well up at their place, and we're fortunate to get the point, I think, from that game. So maybe we can try and use that as a way of saying, right, okay, let's actually show Brighton what we can offer, and try and use that as the platform to win the game.
This match, Brighton, for me, is a final. It's like it's a massive
So
final.
it's a
for
final death, Neil, if we don't win it, you mean?
we have to win this match.
Yeah.
Of all the fixtures we've got coming up, this game's crucial. Absolutely crucial. We lose this, we're down. There's no coming back. We draw this, we're down as well. This game's crucial. Absolutely, we have to win. For me, Brighton, I was watching them last night, and they look like a very good, solid team, and they do play some good football. It's whether we turn up and give them a good game. I think Glenn Murray, he scored against us last time we played for a header, which I think Fraser Foster should have saved with his head. So yeah, but I personally think if we can show up, but the thing is, I don't know when the fixture is. I think it's the latest 31st of January.
January, and it's a midweek game.
This is the game where by then we should have all our. If we're going to bring in some players, that's when they'll be playing.
Deadline day, mate.
Yeah.
Could be a rush on deadline day.
It's
So
not we have to do our business before then. So
what are you advising, Les? Now, yeah.
if we don't do our business before then we're doomed as well. So
Mate, I'm telling you, I reckon there might be one or two coming in on the deadline as opposed to beforehand.
So this game is like a big. I don't know about you, but it's not. Do you know when people say it's a derby? I don't see it as a derby, but I see this as a final. And in the way our season's going, this is a game where we have to win.
Okay, moving on then. West Brom away.
Hang on, whoa. I haven't said anything yet. I just want to say one thing. This game is huge. Right? I'm fed up with sitting here, and when we're sat here and we're saying this is a game that we've got to win. This game, Brighton. I mean, they've played all season with only Glenn Murray up front, and he's done brilliantly for them. The chief executive, I'm trying to think what his name is. It used to be the name of a Premiership referee. But he came out the other day and he turned around and he said, we went into the season short. Paul Barber, his name is, right? Which used to be a name of, right? Paul Barber, his name is. He actually came out and he said, we went into the season short. You'd never hear that from our club. And they've said, Brighton have said that they're looking to try and bring in two attackers this window. They tried apparently during the summer. And I think Glenn Murray's been a revelation, and I'm not even his biggest fan. I thought Glenn Murray, I'm not worried about him in the Premier League, but he has been manful in the same way, although he scores more goals. in the same way that Shane Long can be, but he doesn't score enough goals. You know? Right.
Okay. We now do West Brom away, yeah?
No, do West Brom away.
Cool.
We have to win this game, don't we? I mean, we just have to. West Brom, apart from last weekend when they won in the FA Cup, I said to Mark on the way up in Fulham that they'd won 3 games. They hadn't. They'd only won 2 games in the league. They were both the first 2 games of the season. They haven't won in the league since. My best mate John will hate me for pointing that out on the podcast. But yeah, so again, there are a few matches in between that, but we have to win this game. They're one of the few teams that have done worse than us this season. There's only 3 of them. And I mean, I try and be positive, and I try and think about things in a positive way. But yeah, I think that is a real telling point. If we go there and struggle, we're really, really going to be
I've got news for
really,
you.
really be in trouble. But I'm not saying we're not in trouble already. But that will be that. Kevin's talking about the Brighton game being a final. I think that would be the final game for Pellegrino if he's not already gone by then. But if it had got to that point and we didn't get a good result at West Brom away.
Right, so West Brom away for me. I've been positive for most of the previews, but this one for me, we're going to get bit bad. I just want to point out that every club that's appointed a new manager that's down near the death knell, right, they've had a bounceability factor of their new appointments, new managers. The only one that hasn't is West Brom, right? And I believe with Alan Pardew being an ex-manager, he's got a point to prove, and we're going to lose.
And
Simple.
J-Rod. I think J-Rod will come back to bite us as well.
I was just getting to that. I expect a tight game. I hope that Rodriguez doesn't come back and haunt us with a goal. That's mine.
I think this one's going to be a difficult game, but then we have to go out and try and get a. We've won there 29 times, whereas West Brom have won. Whereas they've won 24 and they've drawn 24 times, and it's 29. That's the stats of.
Yep.
So this one's going to be a tight game. It's always very tight when you go to West Brom, as it is. Is you usually win like a 1-0. I remember when Ricky Lambert scored that penalty. It's always a really tight affair, and I think this is a game that Pellegrino, if he's still in charge, is a type of game where it's the type of game that I think he would thrive in, because it's a type of game where if you score 1 goal against them, then you
kind of done the job.
He's done a job, you know what I mean? I think this game, if he's still there, he might do a job there.
Kevin, you just put on record that you think Pellegrino will thrive in a game.
At West Brom.
I don't know where the thinking is there. But I suppose from my point of view, I'd look at it and I would say the only hope that I have is I was at a Saints game against West Brom, and we lost 2-0, believe it or not. It was that convincing. It was that convincing. We lost 2-0. And I believe that Shane Long scored one of the goals, if not both the goals that night. So I'm hoping maybe that with it being his ex-club, if he starts, he might go out there with a point to prove. But I'm really worried because obviously Pardew being appointed the new West Brom boss, he hasn't had any bounceability back yet. And it worries me slightly.
I think Pardew's not a very good manager as it is anyway, so.
Controversial. Moving on.
Okay, Liverpool. I'm worried we will be beat, and it will be a high-scoring game, but the goals will be in the wrong net. The only hope is that we put our finger out in the transfer window and sign some quality.
Again,
we'll go on that at some point.
I don't know if we will be able to tonight, but
Not tonight.
I think, if they put out their attacking array, it's going to be very difficult, isn't it? even without Philip Coutinho. They've got some fantastic players in attack, and of course now have who we've deemed the best defender in the world for a long time in Verge. Obviously going to be his homecoming. So there you go. That's another one to go and score against us, probably.
I pity you that night, lad, in the Northern. Oh.
There'll probably be some choice words, I'd imagine. Obviously, I was watching the FA Cup game when he scored the winner against Everton, and Twitter absolutely exploded.
Yeah, but that was in reaction to a few Saints fans trying to get digs in early, and then massively backfired on them. And
I did a satirical one, and then it backfired in the sense of what I said, but because it's satirical, it didn't backfire at all. It actually did what I meant to do. Anyway, it absolutely exploded with so many people being very unhappy that he was sold and all the rest of it. And hopefully we get to that conversation another time. But I really think we're going to struggle with that game, and I think too many Liverpool players are going to have a good game for us. And as Jeff said, it'll be very much down to if we can improve our team in the January window as to whether that has any effect on that game.
I'm going to be positive for this game. I think we might get something from it. I think we could get a draw out of this game, personally. I think the thing is Coutinho's left, and Coutinho has a habit of scoring against us. And I think when we played them away from home, Coutinho was a big part in their beating us. But to me, they haven't got a player. They haven't gone out and got a player like Coutinho in their team that's gonna unlock the door if it's going against them. So I think we could get something from now. I can see it being a draw, 1-1 draw.
Cool, Mike.
Massacre, absolute massacre. It'll be. I mean, is it anywhere? It must be our nearest game to St Valentine's Day, isn't it?
It's the day after my birthday, so that's what I'm thinking we're going to
So
get something.
it's on the 11th. It's on the 11th of February, so it's only 3 days before Valentine's, and we are going to get wiped out. Right? We're looking at the same sort of casualties that we inflicted on the Zulus at Rock's Drift. It's going to be that bad. Let's not cut any corners here. Kevin's saying there's no attacking midfielder. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about Mane, Salah running at our defenders who, at the minute, you got to bear in mind that we don't have a defender who communicates, a centre-back who communicates. We've got defenders who get the wrong side of bang average attackers, never mind the attackers that they have. I mean, Flaminio should be having a field day if they're getting crosses in.
Did anybody think we were going to get anything from the United game? No.
I did, yes. No, I did. Because the thing is they weren't in a particularly great run of form when we come up against them. There was always that optimism, but I just think
Dave did.
Liverpool,
He predicted 0-0. So.
Yeah, and I said I think I said 1-0 to Man United, but I mean I think on the back of that, I did. I thought we might get something from the game.
Obviously, I just thought we should add that we're doing February's games because we can't actually meet up in February. We can't get a time to meet up in February, so that's why we're doing February's games.
All our things, unfortunately.
Okay, now on to Burnley away. I think it's going to be another defeat on the cards here. They're quality at home. They've got good goal scorers. But like I said, if we sign some quality in the transfer window, I think that could all change.
Again, we don't have a good record since they got promoted up at their place. I've been there twice and seen us lose 1-0 both times. But having said that, Burnley had an equally as poor a run as we did over the Christmas period. They were the only other team to get 2 points from the entire Christmas fixtures. But because of that, I think, and starting from their run of matches now, I think they'll turn that around and kick on. Sean Dyche has done an absolutely fantastic job. Absolute surprise package of the season. yeah, I've always had a lot of credit for respect for him, and I think he deserves a lot of credit. And I don't think we're going to get much from that game either, to be perfectly honest. I think Sean Dyche as a tactician will do much better than Pellegrino, and that'll be exactly like it was at the home game ultimately. Obviously, in the home game, we should have had the chances put away before he had the chance to even be tactically astute. But I think that'll be a big difference in that game, and ultimately, unfortunately, I can't see us winning that game.
I think we're going to get something from the game. Simply
So
because,
so go ahead, Tom, go for it.
simply because I didn't go to the Fulham game. We won 1-0. I'm not going to the Burnley game because I'm in New York, and I want to test out the theory. If I don't go to the games, I want to test out this theory, and I think we're going to get something from the game.
So basically, we get something at Burnley. You're not turning up.
You're not allowed to turn up again.
So, yeah, I think we're going to get something from the Burnley game. I think it all depends. At Burnley, we always tend to get a penalty, random penalty, and for some reason, Tadic is the one that steps up and takes a penalty, and it always gets saved. So I'm thinking if for whatever reason Tadic just got the flu, or Tadic gets sold, and we get a different penalty taker taking it, then I reckon it's going to be a penalty 1-0 Saints.
Hopefully, Charlie will be back by then.
Well, I'm with Kevin. I think we're going to get something out of the game.
Is that because you're not going to the game?
No, I'm at Burnley. I'm at Burnley. What I would say is that I just tend to think that if our current manager's still in charge, even at that point, I think he'll have us organised in such a way that we set up against Manchester United, Manchester City. And I don't see us losing the game. In fact, if anything, I think we might even nick the game 1-0.
Okay.
Obviously, but worth bearing in mind, if we do get past Watford, we would have a FA Cup tie
Yeah,
in
FA
that
Cup
month
tie.
as well.
Okay, well, moving on then to Stoke. Matt, thoughts?
Stoke away. Or Stoke at home.
Home,
sorry.
Stoke at home. Again, ultimately, it depends where they are by this point. I mean, we are now talking a good couple of months away, 6 weeks away.
They have a new manager in charge because
They'll have a new man. Yeah, obviously they've sacked Hughes this week. Again, it's a home game against a team that's struggling. I want to try and be positive and say, come on, let's do this. Let's get the win.
I
But
think Kevin and I are being more
Positive than me.
Tonight.
I know.
It's shocking. We're
I mean, it could well be a massive game by that point if both clubs are still in similar positions to
I
where
still think it's a massive game anyway.
it's a home game. So yeah, I mean, it should be a big game in the sense of where the season's gone. Every home game is going to be massive now. Yeah, I mean, again, it just depends if they have any bounce from their new manager and where that leads them really.
As
So it's a
long as
bit-
Peter Crouch stays off the pitch, I'll be happy.
it's a bit difficult to preview that game in terms of that sense, being so far away and having the change in management. So
Anyone else?
I think Stoke, I think we're out of the December period, and that's usually a rough spell for us. So by then we'll be in March time, and that's usually when we tend to pick up more results than anything. And in the way our club is at the moment, and we're in a bit of a fight, this game's going to have it's going to be quite of like a tough match. It's going to be quite physical. I can see both teams going at it. I can see it being very open as well. As hopefully Shaqiri gets an injury before the match or gets a suspension or whatever, and then I think we got a chance there.
Okay.
I have
so that's
nothing
it.
to say
Okay.
about the Stoke game again. I think it's one of those games where you've got to be looking to get the 3 points, and anything that I say on this podcast in relation to the preview will probably go against the game, against the grain of the way we're playing. But the players. I mean, I know I keep going on about the players because I'm not trying to deflect from the manager, but the players know what's at stake at the minute at our football club, and again, it's another must-win, game because these are the teams that are around us. So those are the teams that you're expecting to pick your wins up against. We've only won 4 games all season. Well, 5 games if you include the Fulham game. 5 games all season. Shocking return.
Yeah.
Shocking return.
Okay, thanks for that. That brings our previews to a close. We now move on to predictions corner. Starting with the Watford game. Matt, your thoughts?
Watford game this weekend. Oh, I try and be positive. 1-1.
Okay, Kevin.
It's a hard one. We're going to go 1-0 Saints.
I'm with Matt. I think it's got 1-1 written all over it.
How about you, Jeff?
I'm going to go 1-0 Watford. Sorry.
On to the next one.
Okay. Next one, Spurs at home. Matt?
I can't see anything other than us at least conceding 3 goals. I'm going to go 3-0 Spurs.
I'm going to go. I think Dele Alli's going to score against us. I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs.
Right. I'm just going to throw a pre-requisite in. If Pellegrino's still in charge, we're going to lose. Right? We're going to lose 3-0 like Matt said. Right? If Pellegrino isn't in charge, I'm going to say Saints are going to win 1-0.
So if Pellegrino still is in charge, that's the result that counts. And if he's not,
Right,
a 1-0 one was
okay. If Pellegrino's still in charge, unfortunately, what I'm going to say is I'm going to flip that because we haven't beat Spurs in the Premier League since we come back, and that record has to go at some point, right? And even though I'm not convinced about Pellegrino, I think we're going to win it 1-0. There you go.
That was the longest prediction ever.
Sorry. Sorry.
Spurs at home. I could see us losing this 3-0.
So 3-0 is a common one. Common one.
So just being very positive.
Are we previewing the Watford
So you got
Cup one?
Yes.
Okay, Watford Cup then.
honestly, it'll be horrendous if it does work out that way. I can see it being 1-1 again and us going back to Vicarage Road again. I think it'll be exactly the same.
I can see I won't be at the game, and when I don't go to the game, we win. 2-0 Saints.
Yeah, I think 2-0 Saints. Jeff?
I agree with what Matt was saying. I think this one will be a draw. I think looking at the other game, both teams will do something right or something wrong, and it'll counter out itself. I think this one will be a draw, 1-1.
I think, yeah.
So on to Brighton home, Matt.
Right, I am going to stick my neck out here. 2-1 Saints win.
Kev.
We have to win, and I'm going to go for a 1-0.
Saints win.
I agree with Matt. 2-1 Saints win.
You're copying me this time. It's the other way around.
I'm going to disappoint you. I'm going to go 0-0. Sorry,
You've got us being relegated even before we get anywhere near the last matches of the
Okay,
season.
moving on. West Brom away, Matt.
I always want to win this game, so I'm going to stick with that in my predictions corner. I reckon, as we've said, it'll be very close. So 1-0. 1-0 Saints win.
1-0 Saints win.
2-1 West Brom.
Ooh.
And I'm going to go 1-0 West Brom.
Jeff hasn't got us winning the game.
Liverpool at home, Matt.
It's how optimistic I choose for Liverpool to be for this one. In terms of a margin of defeat, I could see that as being the biggest defeat of the season. So I think it's going to be 4-0 Liverpool.
I'm going to go. I think it's going to have plenty of goals in this game. 3-3.
Ooh.
3-3.
Mark.
And if I'm right, you got all
For
to
sake,
bomb
because
me.
I don't want to copy what Matt just said, I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool.
Okay, I'm going to throw this one out there. I think we're going to lose, but I think we're going to score. So I'm going to go Liverpool to win 4-1. 4-1.
If it's 3-3, you've got to buy me a drink. That's what I'm going to say. If it's 3-3.
Right, Burnley away. Matt?
I'm going to stick with the trend of the last couple of seasons and go with a 1-0 Burnley win.
I'm going to go. I'm not there.
So we'll
1-0,
win.
1-0 Saints.
I'm with Kevin, 1-0 Saints.
Oh, I'm going to go 1-0 Burnley.
Oh, he's going with me.
Stoke at home. Matt?
As I said in the preview, it's so hard to judge this game. Right, purely because of that, I want to be positive. I want to try and end on positive notes. Southampton to win 2-0.
Was it now?
Kevin? Stoke at home.
I've got to be negative one game, and I ain't even been negative once. I've got for Saints to win and draw every single game here. 2-1 Stoke.
2-1 Saints.
So we have got a list for Warwick.
I'm
Days,
actually going to be ever so slightly positive here, and I'm actually going to get us to get a 1-1 draw home Stoke.
Alright, okay.
Yeah.
So we need to do the predictions for Warwick, Dave,
I can-
and QB. Have you got them there or
we
not?
can
Somebody read
just
them
write
out,
them out.
please?
We can just write them out on Facebook or something and do it that way because we're running out of time. We're running out of time here.
I'll find them as we're talking. I'll find it out in a minute.
I say we're running out of time, so we have to maybe write them out on Facebook instead.
Actually, so here we go. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, I know,
prediction.
I know.
Okay.
Oh yes,
okay.
found them.
yes,
Warwick.
Prediction corner.
Warwick's day's predictions was 1, Watford 0, Saints 1, Saints 0, Tottenham 0, FA Cup round, Saints 2, Watford 0, Saints 2, Brighton 0, West Brom 1, Saints 1, Saints 1-0 against Liverpool, Burnley 0, Saints 1, Saints 2, Stoke 1. Hugh's predictions is Watford 0, Saints 0, Saints 0, Tottenham 1. FA Cup predictions: Saints 1, Watford 2. Saints versus Brighton. He's gone for a 1-2-1. Brighton.
2-1 Brian.
Okay.
He's gone for a West Brom 0, Saints 2. Saints 0, Liverpool 4. Burnley 1, Saints 1. Saints 0, Stoke 0. And just to round it off, predictions corner. Jeff is on 15. Mark is on 13. Hugh is on 11. I'm on 11. Warwick Dave is gradually progressing and is on 10.
He had a fantastic round for the Christmas.
Yeah,
for the
and
Christmas.
Matt's on 10.
And Matt's on 10.
And
So
another thing I just want to point out is Matt, myself, and Kevin failed to score any points whatsoever during the Christmas New Year period. So we all need to get our acts together.
So basically, just don't pay attention to what we said. You'll be
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, thank you for listening, everyone. That brings our podcast to a close.
Hear back from you in March.
Cheers and bye for now.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed what we had to say on this session of Under the Halo. It might be our voices on the mics, but remember, it's your voices that really count on getting this podcast out to the fans. So please recommend us to your friends and other supporters to follow our social media. If you want to get in touch, find us on Facebook and Twitter at UnderTheHalo1 or use the hashtag UTHalo. You can also email us at underthehalo1@yahoo.com. Until next time, come on you Saints!